everybody. This is Average Joe Squad here. Welcome to another episode of Remember the Hyphen solo, because I can't seem to find out where Adam is. So, anyway, this is an idea I've been wanting to do for a while now. This is something that we referenced in our last episode. Oh, there you are, Adam. Oh, fuck.
Maybe if I wear the shirt, no one will suspect I'm Spider-Man.
Only if you're going to sing the Jingle Bells song.
Spidey bells, Spidey. This is the stupidest intro we've ever done, isn't it?
All right, let's try it again. Actual intro this time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Remember the Hyphen. I am Average Joe Squad.
And I'm Zonket2134.
And as always, we ask you to
Remember the hyphen. So if you couldn't tell by the books Colton got here, he's going to be leading today's episode. That's right. We talking about Spidey Girl. Well, Spider Girl, but, you know, Spidey
AKA
Girl.
my favorite spider-related thing ever. Honestly, that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I think you actually are more of a fan of her than you are her dad.
I actually am. So, and fun fact, this is actually the original volume of Spider-Girl that I read. I guess I'll do some backstory with it real quick on how I became familiar with this. So, I never heard about this until probably about, I want to say right around the time Spider-Man 2 came out, which would have been like 04, 05. So, probably around 05 is when I got it.
I was about to say, because I think it didn't really start until the first volume, because I think that she was on her second volume at that point.
First printing 2004, because this would have been like late 2004, early 2005 when I found it. But basically, I found this at the Scholastic Book Fair for my school when I was in grade school. I was in third grade. It was either third or second grade. I can't remember which. Dating myself there, I guess. But
you dating yourself?
I found this, and I had never heard of it. You know, but I was a pretty big Spider-Man kid, so I was like, huh. I've never heard of this.
If you notice, of the two Spider Kids in this car, only one of us is wearing the mask. I say that he has actual full costumes. I have
an actual Raimi costume.
So, but anyway.
Anyway, I picked this up. This was $8. I think I only had a $10 bill, so this was what I got. I read all of this in a day, and this only collects issues 0 to 5, so 6 issues.
I can't get this off so I can drink.
And I read this cover to cover in a day, because this was like the coolest thing I had ever read, which is funny because I almost didn't buy it. I almost was like, this looks like a joke, and like the more I read, the more I kind of palmed through it at the book fair, and I was like, wait. The thing that caught me, I think, was I was looking at it. I'm like, is that Ben Reilly's costume?
Okay.
It's like,
well, you know, it's funny you mentioned the joke thing, because originally this was all based on a one shot that was a tie-in to the end of the Clone Saga. Basically, what if Peter Parker and Mary Jane had the baby, and this is that baby. So, like, the reason we did the Clone Saga episode was, A, because we didn't have enough time to film this episode, but B, because it does tie into this story. So,
this is partially why I defend the Clone Saga, is these.
So, would you say anybody could read this, or would you say it's more for, like, I'm not saying like for girls? Just because I know there's a lot of girls that really do adore this this story. I definitely think it's for all ages. I mean, like, case in point, I was probably like 8 or 9. Yeah, I was 8 or 9 when I first picked this up. And mind you, up to that point, the only female superheroes I knew about were Batgirl, Supergirl, and Wonder Woman. And so, like, that's why, like, when I saw this, I thought it was a girl's book at first. I was like, what? You're not wrong.
So, but like I said, I looked through it and I was like, you know what the heck? I'll pick it up and I'll read it. You know, worst case scenario, I waste $8. It's like, whatever. I couldn't find anything else at the book fair to begin with. But like I said, I picked this up and read it cover to cover in a day, because it's like that. I was totally just captured by it, because it was a great story. And once I got into it and read it, I knew about the Clone Saga at that point, because I read Tom DeFalco's Ultimate Guide to Spider-Man. I used to read that religiously. Check it out from the local library every week.
It's funny you mentioned book fairs. I actually got those from a Scholastic magazine Like I got my or well, not those, but like my Spider-Man Ultimate Guide from that, and it's tattered right now because I used to take it with me all over the place when I was really little because I used to read it a lot and I used to just carry it with me. So like the dust cover sadly is pretty badly beat up. And there's a couple of pages with tears in it.
Yeah, I mean like you I don't know if it really picks up on camera very well, but these are very yellowed pages because I've had this thing for years. I've read it multiple times. I mean, the cover is kind of, I don't know if it picks up well. It's basically held together by binding tape.
Then I can smell the basement coming off them.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, I bought this one first. This was the one I had for a while. This is the second volume. I didn't buy this at the time. I think I bought like Ultimate Guide to X-Men that year instead. Like this was there, but I didn't buy it. But then the next year I bought this one, which was the third one.
Now you can't get these ones pretty much anymore because they're out of print, but you can find. I think they've re-released the trades a couple times now.
Yeah. Recently they released Complete Spider-Girl, Spider-Girl the Complete Collection, which is the original run. There's Volume 1 and Volume 2, and Volume 3 has been confirmed, but it's not coming out till next year. But that's where I would recommend anybody start is with this because this is the.
I just hope they don't. At least they won't cancel it like DC will. God, yeah. DC's been canceling a lot of stuff lately.
Yeah. Basically, there's 3 Spider-Girl series. Technically 4 if you include the end.
Isn't that and then Spider-Man Family? Or is that 5?
Spider-Man Family was after the cancellation of the last one. But anyway, there's this one, which is Spider-Girl. It's just called Spider-Girl, adjectiveless. This nearly got canceled a couple times. Got brought back by Fan-Man a couple times, so it got saved. Then they finally canceled it. But then Marvel looked at it and saw that there was a cult following for it, and so they did another series run called Amazing Spider-Girl.
Yeah, because I think it actually used to be a tagline for the book, like the book that keeps getting canceled,
The book series, the book that wouldn't die, basically.
Because for anyone that wants to know like how comic book sales are, usually the best for sales is about a couple 100,000. Well, usually around like 600,000. This usually only had like about
for this was 15, pretty high
000.
when it started, and then it kind of dropped off.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, but like it was high, but like high is relative in comic books because it was like I want to say like only in the 10,000s as much as like it is beloved. And I think nowadays it's more beloved because people pick it up in trades and see how good it is.
Yeah. But yeah, so there was Adjectiveless Spider-Girl, there was Amazing Spider-Girl, and then there was Spectacular Spider-Girl, which I think only ran for one trade. It was a very short run. Then there was another thing called Spider-Girl The End, which was a wrap-up to the series.
Oh, that kind of makes me nervous. I've never read that, but...
That's the one I told you about where, like, basically she fights Norman. I'm pretty sure is what that is.
Because, like...
basically, it's good. It's by... I'm pretty sure it's by DeFalco.
Well, because, like, Marvel The Ends can sometimes be either really good... or like the Punisher, The End, where he like dies in a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up because I've actually never read The End. I don't own it, sadly. I'm mainly waiting for like everything to come out in trade. Which
because I'd like them to just do a Marvel The End where they just collect all of the ends. Especially because they're releasing a bunch of new The Ends right now. They did Miles Morales is actually getting a Spider-Man The End.
Yeah, here it is. Thank you, Marvel Wiki.
Yes.
It's the thing with April, where April dies.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's
I know what you're talking about now. Sorry, because like usually when they do a The End, I think that like it's way in the future where like Mayday's like super old.
Yeah.
She'd also appeared one more else place, Marvel X.
Yeah, she appears.
Earth X,
she appears in Earth X, which I actually have. I forgot to tell you about this. I bought that. I remember mentioning to you.
Yeah.
I accidentally bought it from a retailer in Germany. So it's gonna be coming in like a couple of weeks. It's gonna go to customs.
So there's also a good chance it's in German.
No, I bought it from the same store that I bought Superman Golden Age Volume 2. It's in English.
Oh, okay.
If not, I'll send it back because I don't read German.
To speak to the girl.
Well, it was cheap, and I didn't look to see where it was.
No, I know.
Anyway, so there's that. That's the main Spider-Girl kind of run. She also appears in, I believe, Spider-Verse.
Yeah, she appeared in the very first Spider-Verse actually.
Yeah, she's in Spider-Verse. She's a main character in Spider-Geddon.
Yeah, because her brother's important in those.
Yeah, she's a main character in Spider-Geddon. And then one of my favorite things for Spider-Geddon is there's a 3-issue miniseries called Spider-Girls, which has Mayday, Aranya, and Annie Parker from Renew Your Vows. And it's like one of my favorite things is that Annie and May get to meet because in Annie's world, basically everything unfolds in normal 616 canon to a point, except one more day never happens. And so May actually still dies in that world. Basically, she is stillborn. And Annie doesn't know about May for most of her life until MJ tells her about her. And there's this big thing in Spider-Girls where when May shows up in Annie's world, basically what happens is she and Aranya run across MJ, Peter, and Annie, who, for those who don't know and renew your vows, they're basically a spider family. MJ has a suit that Peter made that can channel his powers. Yeah. So she has powers. Annie was born with powers. And
she's technically a mutant.
Yeah, and so what happens is they meet up, and there's this really humorous part where Peter is like, "Please don't say you're clones. Nothing good ever comes out of clones."
I almost wanted Mayday to be like, "Well, it's funny you mentioned because I am a byproduct of this thing called the Clone Saga."
But there's this great thing where basically May takes her mask off and she's like, my name is May. My name is May Parker. My parents call me Mayday, and there's the next panel is like this scene of where MJ's kind of off by herself and Annie comes to talk to her, and it's just really heartbreaking scene where like MJ is literally by herself, kind of like trying to collect how she feels, and Annie asks her, was her name May too? And MJ says yeah, implying that they're talking about the sister that Annie
I always find kind of weird because like they go to her grave. I'm like, did you not put her name on the grave? Like I know, like most...
no, they don't go to May's grave. They go to Ben's.
Oh,
May
that's right.
May doesn't have a grave,
which I find weird because like usually most people whose babies are stillborn have graves for them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but that and Spider-Geddon Web Warriors has been the most recent appearance of May. I hear that she's going to be. There's a new Spider-Verse series. I think she's in it.
I mean,
I'm not sure. I've picked up the first issue, but I haven't read it.
Yeah.
I might do that when I go home. Just read it and see.
I find it so weird they keep making more Spider-Verse stuff because like the first couple stories they did were not good. Like, because literally the first Spider-Verse is the spider heroes come across an inheritor. The inheritor kicks their asses. They all run away and one of them dies. And then they regroup, wash, rinse, repeat for 12 issues. But, so, I think probably by this point we might as well kind of get into the origins of her. And because it's kind of funny, like, I always talk about it's a what if, but the what if itself actually leads into its own universe. The MC2 as it's came to known.
Basically it was so popular. Which I think it even says on the cover of the first issue.
Because, like, it's not just Spider-Girl that's in it. Like, they actually introduced, like, like, the Children of the Avengers and the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, here it is. The first issue actually says, because you demanded it, the wildest and cutest web swinger of all.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Spider-Ham's pretty cute. But like, I always kind of found that, because, like, they don't just give, like, they actually they thought out, like, because like there's not like there's Children of the Avengers running the Avengers,
the Fantastic Five,
the X-Men have changed their name to X People. Like it's actually really thought out, and I credit to
Kane is still kicking around.
Kane is still kicking around, and he's a good guy, kind of. Like but like because that was one of the things I give the most credit to Tom DeFalco about this series, because like he
knows his shit.
Well, he knows his shit, and he also like cares. Like, a lot of people, if they were like, well, we're going to make a child of, like, the Spider-Man, but, like, we're only going to focus on Spider-Man and his recurring characters. We're not going to, like, it's going to be, like, its own thing, and there's nothing else. No Avengers. Like, Tom DeFalco actually, like, was like, no, I'm going to actually show, like, how these characters would be if they were allowed to age. And that's one of the things I think is one of the most brilliant things about these books, aside from just how well-written Mayday is. But anyway, I this is really your rodeo, so you might as well.
This is.
He knows a lot more than me. I know the basics.
I can't remember how we actually talked about Spider-Girl first, because we met through work and we actually bonded over Batman the Animated Series first. I can't. I think maybe I asked you. About this.
I think you, because like, well, I think we quoted Spider-Man and stuff, and you were like, how much do you know about Spider-Man? And then I got out my mask and I said, no, a little bit. You know, as the elder in this car right now.
I think I just mentioned it to you because I think I mentioned like my favorite Spider-Man thing was Spider-Girl.
No, to be fair, I've had a dabble with Spider-Girl.
Which I think you were even surprised that I mentioned it, because you like most people don't.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of people that seem to talk about this. Like it's got a pretty big cult following, but there's not a lot of mainstream attention with it.
And the other problem is the fact that like Marvel kind of wants to sweep her under the rug and pretend she doesn't exist, because like one of the bigger problems with Mayday, and I don't consider it a real problem. I consider it a problem with Marvel. She's tied to the Clone Saga just because of the way her origin is and her costume. So they kind of try to move past that because they don't like to talk about the Clone Saga a lot. The only like for a very long time, the Clone Saga was very taboo. It only got that way until, as much as I hate to admit it, Dan Slott started bringing clone stuff into his storylines with Spider Island and Kane and the Scarlet Spider stuff that he did later. But, like, for a long time, Marvel was desperate to try and, like, that's why they got canceled a lot. They really didn't want to keep the character around because it was baggage to them. Which is a shame, because I argue that she had better stories when she was coming out than her father did in the mainstream books. Because, like, around this time, you had the final chapter. You had the horrible Hickman run where it was just despair and trudging and dirt and, like, Mary Jane dying in a plane crash. Like, it didn't get better until kind of after, I think, the second volume of Spider-Girl for Peter, because, like, J. Michael Straczynski came along and actually fixed the character.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's get into, like, how did Mayday come about?
Yeah, so, and like I said, this is honestly, like, one of my favorite, like I said, this is my favorite Spider-Man related thing, and honestly, the very early issues of Spider-Girl are probably some of my favorite stuff, because, to me, they really go back to, that's the thing, we have this backing light, so we actually have to, like, put our hands up to see where the timestamp on this stuff is.
Okay, I just want to see if it was still running and if how long we've been talking already.
We need to, like, put, like, some black electrical tape or something up there so we can, like...
I got this. There we go.
But yeah, so anyway, this place, as Adam mentioned here, this takes place in the MC2 universe. It's basically just short for Marvel Universe 2.
Well, I think Marvel Continuity 2, technically, with the C, but...
it basically is Marvel Comics 2. But, and as I said, this is written by Tom DeFalco. I'm going to butcher this name. Pat Alif?
Yeah, we'll say Pat Alif.
With Ron Frez.
So, apologies to Pat Alif.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce that, but so we're going with Alif. So, feel free in the comments, Pat Alif, to...
Ron Frenz also did a lot of art for this, and he, to me, is probably the definitive... artist for May, in my opinion. He does the best art for her comics.
Yeah, because like part of the problem with Spider-Girl is the fact that because it's technically like a B story, they didn't really put like the best artists on it. But like, to be fair, from what it is, it does look good. A lot of the problem is they would get artists that were new to the biz and they had them draw stuff that like that you wouldn't pick for like Amazing Spider-Man or Astonishing X-Men, unfortunately.
Yeah, sir. I like sitting and I don't want to read this.
don't read. You got to lead, man. I know I usually lead, but you got to lead.
Welcome to Spider-Girl, the audiobook.
The audiobook. Do not read. Just give us. Just give us the plot synopsis.
This takes place in the future. Because these comics came out in 98, so this is a couple years after Clone Saga.
Yeah. And particularly, this takes place 15 years-ish after the Clone Saga?
May is 15 when these start. But basically...
like her dad.
The Clone Saga basically happens, and basically everything happens in Clone Saga that is the same, except that May doesn't die in childbirth.
Peter gets crippled fighting Norman.
Yeah, basically, Peter and Norman have this last all-out battle, and the end result, which they actually show later on.
Yeah.
They actually bring it up. What happens is that getting sidetracked here. Yeah. Basically, what happens is Peter and Norman have this big battle, and the end result is Norman Osborn dies again. For real this time, not for real until they bring him back later.
Yeah.
But I think that's in the second run. But anyway, what happens is Peter, he loses his leg, and although Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four offers to make him a new leg, he's like, I can make you a new one, it'll be like totally having your real one, you'll be back to web swinging in no time. Peter decides not to. He gets a normal the
prosthesis
leg. And the cool thing that they don't bring this up here, but they bring it up later in Spider-Man Family, is that he still tries to be Spider-Man for a while after that, but he just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So he finally just says, okay, I can't do this anymore. I've got responsibilities. I have a kid now. I have I put Mary Jane through enough.
Like it's
time for me to stop.
It's one of the things that I think frustrates me so much about the normal canon, where Peter doesn't would often shirk responsibility, mainly Stan Slott's writing of Peter, but like, it's a reasonable reason for Peter to stop being Spider-Man. It's not, I stopped being just because I had a kid. I stopped being because I want to actually not let my family die.
I actually have the issue in here where it's mentioned because Mary Jane explains it, because it was in this series. It was a big thing. Like why? Yeah, why did Peter stop being Spider-Man?
Because you knew he was missing a leg from the very beginning, but you didn't know what happened. That
it's in here somewhere. Damn it! I just saw it earlier. Where is it?
So, well, he's going on there. I know. So. After all this, Peter ends up working. He works as a forensic investigator for the NYPD, right?
Yeah. And so what happens is, like I said, he stops being Spider-Man. He tells Reed, hey, stop working on the leg. I'm just gonna be done.
Yeah.
And so,
Reed really should have kept working on that tech though, since he's now a brain in a jar.
Yeah. But so anyway, 15 years passes, and May has grown up to be this teenager. She plays basketball. She takes a lot after her mom, but she's not like she's very smart.
Yeah,
like
she's
her father.
She's not the party happy go lucky MJ. She's a bit more of like the older MJ, like the I've kind of came into my own sort of thing instead of trying to hide that I'm really sad and miserable MJ.
Yeah, and she's pretty popular. She plays basketball. But at the same time, she has friends that aren't popular, and it kind of leads to clashes with her friends that are popular. She kind of is playing both sides, basically.
That's because Mayday's a woman, so she's allowed to be a little dorky, unlike her father. I always imagine Peter just being like, why couldn't I have been born a girl so I could have been liked as a dork?
But so anyway,
I can't have shit in this house.
We'll get to that later. That's basically how MJ probably feels later on.
It really is.
So anyway, the opening issue starts out with May in a basketball game, and it's a really, really big game. And what happens is, it mentions that she dodges all these other players. She has the ball, and she moves like she knows she can anticipate everybody else's moves. And the telltale sign is in the panels. You can start seeing the spider sense stuff go off.
And then she leaps a height that should not be possible for a 15-year-old girl.
She leaps higher than the backboard, does a slam dunk, and it breaks the backboard.
And I love Peter and MJ because they're sitting there like, oh God, it's happening. And I love Peter, who's like, calm down, MJ. It could just be puberty.
Yeah, basically Peter's in real denial about it. But they just don't say anything about it. But it's like, they early on they show that the main villain of the story, who all gets revealed in a little bit, is kind of hanging out outside the gym because Peter's there, and both Peter and May's spider sense goes off. May doesn't really understand it yet.
Yeah.
But they kind of don't think anything of it. So basically, May goes off to hang out with some friends, and what happens is Peter and MJ go home and they have this talk about does May have your powers? Which MJ seems pretty convinced of, and Peter basically is like, I've watched my whole life for signs from her. She doesn't have it. Which
I find weird. I'm like Peter, you didn't just develop these naturally. You were bitten by a radioactive spider. You there's probably a time delay on this, which I do kind of it is kind of funny because I honestly, if I were Peter, I've been like, well, this probably would have been the time because I did gain my powers around 15. Yeah. Perhaps my genetic makeup, when passing on my genes to May.
Yeah, this also brings up the matter: is May a mutant? Is she not? I can't remember if this was a fan art I found or if this was actually mentioned in a comic, but there's a comic where a Sentinel goes after her, which would imply that she's a mutant if the Sentinels are going after her.
It's really debatable, because she's a mutant in the sense that she was born with her powers.
It's something that's not clear cut.
Yeah, because technically, forgive me for getting it. Basically, there's supposed to be a gene, like a mutant gene, the X gene, that will trigger when a person reaches puberty or goes through some sort of stressful thing that causes their power to awaken. With May, it's hard to argue because of the fact that technically her father did not have the mutant gene and passed it to her. He's technically a mutate. Marvel, because the bullshit with mutants, oh, it's okay for Spider-Man to be a hero because he got his powers through non-legitimate means. But if a person's born with the ability to have dazzle powers, that suddenly makes them monsters. So they're like, well, there's a difference between mutant and mutate, and it's stupid.
Yeah. But so anyway, so then we cut back to May and her friends, and what happens is they get attacked by the Green Goblin. And basically, the Green Goblin, this obviously isn't Norman or Harry, but what happens is, he tells May, tell your father that we have unfinished business, meet me at the bridge. To which May is like, what bridge are you talking about? And to which Normie just says, he'll know it when I mean. So May goes home, and Peter basically flips the fuck out.
Yeah, he's because you don't need to. Didn't he he's like, I'll go to the Avengers. I'll go to the Fantastic Four, which was hilarious. He does try to go to the Avengers, and he doesn't recognize anybody there because it's all kids.
He recognizes, I think, the butler. That's it.
Yeah, he recognizes Jarvis, but because most of the Avengers have either retired or have children. Actually, I think on one of them. This one you actually see the daughter of Captain America. Because I think that, and they also reference Scott Lang's daughter, I think, becoming the new Wasp. Which is funny because she actually did become the Wasp later on. She was originally a character called Stature until they realized the unfortunate implications of the name Stature.
There's the future Fantastic Five.
Yeah, which the robot is Reed's brain in a robot. I think he literally gutted Herbie and put his brain in that because I think doesn't his body fall apart or something?
I can't remember. They don't mention it in any of these.
Yeah, but basically he's now a head in a jar, which is hilarious to me. Isn't there also two Human Torches?
It's just John. I think it's just John.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I know that.
Franklin Richards is in it.
Yeah, he's Psylord.
The Thing is in it. There's a version of She-Hulk. I apologize offhand. I'm not familiar with MC2 Fantastic Five stuff.
That's fine. I couldn't remember because I thought I saw a picture where there were two Human Torches in the Fantastic Five, but that could be me just remembering it wrong.
Yeah, but so anyway, like I said, like he mentioned, Peter goes to both of these teams and he doesn't really know anybody.
And shock of all shocks, the Fantastic Five aren't home.
The Fantastic Five aren't home. Nothing changes. The Fantastic Five are never home.
Whenever Peter,
they're never home.
They're never home. Do all of you need to go?
I think it actually even says they're on a deep space mission.
Yeah, because
I think it does.
It's always some bullshit. Galactus is invading, or Skrulls, or the Silver Surfer lost his surfboard because it got overparked, or some bullshit. Bullshit is what it is. I'll tell you. Oh.
Yeah, here it is.
Oh wait, that's not She-Hulk. That's his wife Landra.
Oh, okay.
That's his. No. That's okay, dude. I wouldn't have known unless I looked at it closer, like I did just now.
Yeah, here it is. Mr. Storm and the rest of the team are presently on a classified mission in deep space.
Real quick for some Fantastic Four history. So Johnny dated Alicia Masters for a while after the Thing broke up with her, but it wasn't Alicia because they had to retcon that because they didn't want Johnny to look like more of an asshole than he already is. So it turns out she was a Skrull named Lilandra who had eggs with him because Johnny just bangs his friends' girlfriends or exes. Like when he banged Medusa for a while after she broke up with Black Bolt. Comic books.
Well, let's go back. This isn't
so
Bash
basically
Johnny Storm.
Peter gets desperate and he's like, all right, I'll take matters into my own hands and goes to fight the Green Goblin with a gun.
So meanwhile, but to kind of backtrack, while all this is going on, the previous night when Peter and MJ had been having a conversation about this, MJ was like, you need to tell May. Peter's like, no, I'm not going to. I can handle this, and all the while they're talking about this, May is listening in, and she hears, MJ be like, your daughter, May's capable, she can handle being the daughter of Spider-Man.
Well, because Mayday's not stupid. She's like, I shouldn't have been able to do the shit I did at the basketball game. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah, but so while Peter's off trying to get help, Mayday basically confronts MJ and is like, you need to tell me what's going on with me. To which, you know, May is like flipping out, and MJ is like the portrait of calm. It's hysterical. Well, I think there's actually a part where basically she's like, you need to stop being so dramatic, especially when you're quoting my own lines back to me.
Well, you know, she's put up with her with Mayday's father for 20 years or so at this point. She's used to overdramatic Parkers.
Yeah. But so she takes May up to the attic where Peter has all this stuff stored, and basically MJ explains that, you know, Peter was Spider-Man and why he stopped. And May points out, you know, there's 2 different costumes in his trunk. And one of them, as MJ points out, that belonged to your Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
You know, obviously being Ben Reilly.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, I actually think Mayday looks better in the costume than Ben. Like, I like Ben, but, like, I guess because Mayday has worn it so much longer than him, like, I kind of associate more with her.
Yeah. But, so, basically, you know, they leave, and what happens is Peter goes to the bridge by himself, but he's brought a gun. He's at least
smart enough to be like,
I need some protection.
I'm going to fight you, Normie. You, me, and this gun I brought.
I've got this.
Oh shit! I just realized I spoiled who that is.
Yeah, it's Normie Osborn.
It's Harry's son / Norman's grandson.
Who has, spoiler alert, to quote Peter Parker later in this run, they're Osborns. They all go crazy eventually.
Well, and to be fair, Normie has been, I think, was kidnapped by these assistants to Osborn who brainwashed him a little bit.
No, he.
Oh, okay.
He lives with his mom in this. It's like 616.
Well,
basically, Harry dies.
Yeah,
and he goes to live with his mom.
Okay, I'm thinking about. I'm sorry. Once again, I'm going back to the main continuity because there was a story where these women kidnapped Normie to dunk him in Goblin formula to make him like their new heir.
That's never brought.
Okay, I couldn't remember if that was an any point in port. I forget.
Yeah,
sorry.
But basically, how I abbreviate is anything after Clone Saga does not happen in this world, basically. But anyway, so what happens is Normie shows up, and you know he kind of tells Peter, he's like, you know, you didn't bring your costume. You know, my date was with Spider-Man.
And basically, he says Spider-Man died the same night your grandfather did.
Yeah, to which Normie doesn't take kindly to it, and he's basically like, you know, like, oh, is that so? Then who's standing before me? You know, you're still here. Is my dad? Is my grandfather? So what, you know, he basically is getting ready to kill Peter, and MJ shows up, and MJ kind of tries to talk Normie down, but all it really does is give Normie. He grabs MJ by the face, and he has the same gloves as Norman did, and he basically tells Peter, you know, if you don't go home and get the costume, I'm gonna fry your face.
Yeah.
As he's saying this, May comes swinging in,
yeah.
Kicks him in the face,
and says.
You want a spider person?
Well,
Normie,
you face it, Tiger. Or no, yeah. It just says, guess what? You hit the jackpot. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah.
So basically, May and Normie fight, and
Normie being a complete loser with just some gadgets, a lot like his dad, can't go up against an athletic chick with spider powers.
Yeah. So basically, May defeats him. Normie almost dies. He almost gets run over by a truck, and Mayday saves him, which comes into play later, like really heavily. So basically, they arrest Normie, and you know they all go back to the house, and Peter basically is like, you know, we're not gonna do this. He basically burns all the stuff, burns the costume, burns the web shoot. Burns one of the costumes because God knows he's got more.
And also Mayday snuck a costume anyways out of that thing.
Well, May snuck the web shooters, design for the web shooters, and I think the web shooter formula.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the costume, or if she does, she's hit another one. But basically, what happens is Peter forbids May to be Spider-Girl. Basically, he's like, I don't want you for this. You know, he actually mentions later in the first volume, you know, you're only a kid. The world doesn't need another costumed hero.
To which I reply, Peter, you were the same age she was when you were Spider-Man.
Yeah, but it really brings up a very key thing about these early runs, is that Peter and MJ kind of bounce back and forth whether they're okay with May being Spider-Girl and not, primarily because they're parents. They don't exactly want May, their only daughter, who they went through so many complications to have.
Yeah.
They don't want her to get killed being Spider-Girl. But at the same time, it later gets brought up that basically May's whole philosophy is, I have these powers, and I don't want anybody to get hurt because I didn't act when I could have.
You know, I have a responsibility to these great powers.
I've heard that line before. that's a running gag in this early series, is that May will try to bring up the with great power comes great responsibility speech. And I think when she brings it up to Peter, Peter is basically like save it. I've heard that before. And then she brings up to MJ, and MJ's like, oh no, don't do this to me. Like they both cut her off before she can finish it, because they're like, seriously, you're gonna bring that into this?
But you know, and so like she goes up against both villains that are new and villains that are like,
there's some old ones too,
or like the children of old ones, like Magneta, Mistress of Magnet.
Venom shows up in this one. I remember being like, yeah, here it is. Basically, Venom shows up.
Because is it Eddie like in it, or did Eddie die and the symbiotes just carrying on their revenge?
Eddie, I'm pretty sure Eddie's dead. The symbiote is actually in a detention center, and basically there's a guard there that's like,
because I don't know if he
brings up like, hey, there's a new wall crawler in town and it has Spider-Girl on it, and the symbiote sees it and he's like, nah, bitch, I'm coming.
Because like, because I don't. Did they explain what happened to Eddie, or? Because I wonder if they explained that he died of cancer.
Not in this issue.
Because one of the reasons why he's able to withstand the Venom symbiote, basically the Venom symbiote absorbs adrenaline. It feeds on your adrenal gland. It's actually why it would web swing in Peter's body, because it would need to feed. So it would take his body joyriding to pick up boost adrenaline. And the reason why like Peter could handle it is because he's already a superhero. He has an enhanced body. Eddie was able to survive that because he had adrenal cancer. Like, because so his body already produced a huge amount of adrenaline. Yeah, and basically in this issue, it attaches to Peter, and basically May has to fight. Why didn't they change? Oh. Yeah, and basically May. Well, the thing is, like, Phil gets into it, and basically they use the Sonic thing, I'm pretty sure, and then Phil Ulrich is also alive in this, and he's good. Is he okay? Because he looks like he's doing the Goblin scream, isn't he? Yeah, that's really weird, because technically the scream is supposed to come from the mask he had. Like every single story changes that he has that naturally. Yeah, and Peter is grateful May saves him, is also like, this is why you can't be Spider-Girl anymore. We're not doing symbiotes now. But eventually, like I said, there becomes an understanding that, you know, because basically May sneaks out enough times and does like, at one point she has a human spider like costume, which is like amazing. Which is just like a hoodie with a Spider-Man logo and like not even a Spider-Man logo, it's just a red hoodie, and she pulls the string so like it's over her mouth partially. It's funny as hell. Hang on. All right. Stealth mode, engage. Oh, this doesn't work. There we go. Stealth mode, engage. Like that. But one of the best, I believe it's in this run. If not, it's in Amazing Spider-Girl. I'm staying perfectly quiet and silent. Listen here, Drax. Chill. Anyway, so what happens is there's another issue, and again, I can't remember if it's in this original run or if it's in Amazing Spider-Girl, where basically May gets detention, and one of her classmates is missing, and MJ tries to get a hold of her. And basically the teacher picks up May's phone and answers it, and then hangs up. MJ shows up at the school, knocks on the door, and is like, I'm taking my daughter home. But she, and by the way, if you answer my daughter's phone again, I will sue you and the school personally. Yeah, because like, one thing I love about this universe is Mary Jane is just so done with people coming into her life and screwing it up. So Mary Jane is done. That is like the whole of her life. She's done. She just wants to protect her daughter and son or father. There's a fan art I have saved on my computer, and I've shown it to you before. It's one of my favorite fan arts I've ever encountered. And basically it has MJ, and she's holding May and Peter by the ear, and they're in their spider costumes. Like, that's how fed up MJ is during all this. Because like one of the favorite parts of this is when Normie tries to do an old Hobgoblin classic, kidnap a loved one, and Don't you mean Green Goblin classic? Or Green Goblin classic? What did I say? You see Hobgoblin. This is the Ultimate Comics. To be fair, I love Hobgoblins. So. Yeah, we actually were just talking about Hobgoblin the other day. Yeah, we for Spider-Man, I might do a Hobgoblin retrospective. Oh, please do. I'd love that. because
I'll just have to finish reading Origin of the Hobgoblin.
oh, we'll just do it like this, where I explain to you how bullshit that got. But basically, Normie tries to kidnap MJ, who's at home in her PJs, and she just without missing an eye, grabs a lamp and just starts wailing on his ass. Which is hilarious, because what does Normie say?
Well, first off, MJ slams him, because basically Normie does this huge monologue, and MJ just picks up a lamp, smashes him, and says, "Grow up."
Yeah.
And to which, Normie is just like, "What's wrong with you, lady? I'm the Green Goblin. You should be afraid of me."
And I think she's like, "No, you're not.
And
You're
MJ's
just
like, "All I see in front of me is a scared little boy pretending to be his grandfather." And she then throws him out a window, to which, Normie doesn't give up. And he basically is kind of trying to hunt her down. And he's like, "Come on, Auntie May. I'll even spring for a breakfast. Just work with me."
What, you gonna go into a Denny's dressed up like the Green Goblin, being like, "Seat for two for the breakfast special"?
All I can think of is, man, if we ever get a Green Goblin verse thing, I just want Norm to be like, "You are the worst fucking Green Goblin I've ever fucking seen."
And then Phil Urich goes, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
Oh, I have a lot of issues with Phil Urich, especially because he's been both the Green and Hobgoblin, and I hate his Hobgoblin. Yeah. But anyway, to not go into every single issue,
we'll just kind of go over my highlights. I guess.
So what would you argue is your favorite? Because I kind of want to do an interview thing with this. What would you argue is your favorite issue of this, and your least favorite or worst, if you have that? And feel free to give me a couple.
Can I cheat and give you a couple favorite issues?
Yeah, feel free to give because we've only been shooting for 40 minutes.
Issue 0, the Origin, one of my favorites.
To be fair, that's a really solid what if. Because a lot of my problems with the what ifs is sometimes they just are so ludicrous. It's not fun. Except for the greatest one. What if Aunt May became the Herald of Galactus and became the Golden Oldie?
But
that's like an episode of The Tick.
The Origin one's one of my favorites.
It is a solid Origin. I can't blame you for that one.
I love the Carnage storyline in Amazing Spider-Girl, which is a couple issues when Carnage comes back. And basically what happens, to explain that one real quick, is Carnage comes back and he bonds with one of May's classmates. Because basically, the kid's plan is his dad's dying.
Yeah.
And he gets the symbiote, and he figures out the symbiote has a healing factor.
As you do.
And he decides, this can help save my dad. But the problem is when you get Carnage takes over. He doesn't listen to you. So what he does is he goes and he kidnaps both Peter and Benji, who is in this verse, not only do MJ and Peter have Mayday, they also have another baby when MJ is probably in her 40s,
which they actually do worry a lot because Mary Jane is an old.
They mentioned that we went through so many complications to have May.
Which is one of my favorite things is because Mayday, of course, ends up having to be Spider-Man as her mom's going into labor, and she gets there and Peter is in tears, and at first even Mayday's "Oh my God, Dad, did Mom?" And he's like, "No, sorry, sweetheart, it's your mom and your new little brother are fine. It's just it was touch and go there for a little bit."
Yeah.
It works because I think some people would probably see it oh, that's a bit of a bait and twist. I'm like, no, because that's a real thing.
I'm about to say, and I love Benji in this because May and her brother have such an adorable relationship, and same with May and Benji. There's this one comic where MJ and Benji are up really, really early, and May is up early as well, and she's like, "What are you guys doing up so early?" "Well, your brother has this thing about being fed before 8 o'clock in the morning." To which May is like, "Yeah, that's right. You tell him, Benji."
Well, to be fair, it helps that Benji is
is fucking adorable.
Well, adorable in that Mayday is a lot older, younger. I get why really little kids sometimes have a harder time with, but with Mayday, she's almost like a second mom at this point at her age. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. Just I've seen a lot with much older siblings when their parents have a second baby. When they're in their teens, it's not as bad because they kind of latch on to this kind of parental instinct because of how old they've gotten.
Yeah, but so Carnage kidnaps Benji and Peter, and it does this really twisted thing where it bonds part of itself to Benji.
Yeah.
And basically, May is left with this thing with this decision where she's like, in order to save Benji, she has to shoot him with a sonic gun to rip the symbiote off of him.
Yeah.
But in doing so, it deafens him. So basically, he has to go and have surgery, and thankfully, he gets all of his hearing restored. You know, but it's like
Reed Richards does it, so like
yeah.
he's like, I guarantee you, I can save your son's hearing.
I think it's Reed. It might be somebody else. I don't remember.
Either way, it's some.
Basically, what happens is May deals with a lot of guilt over it too. She's like, I know, where she's basically like, did I do the right thing? Like, I saved my brother's life, but at what cost? Basically, I love that. I also love the issue with the black suit. May also gets a black costume at one point, which it's different than Peter's,
but in a good way. I think.
I like it.
Like, sometimes
it doesn't stick around very long.
Well, then sometimes they change the symbiote look in a way, like the black suit in a way that it looks stupid. Like, hey, let's give Peter the black costume, but the legs don't wrap around. It's just a spider emblem. Okay, you Dan Slott with Renew Your Vows.
Yeah, but yeah, I like that issue. One of my favorites is when Norman Osborn comes back.
Oh yeah.
Basically, and he comes back twice.
Isn't there also an episode an issue where she time travels?
Yeah, that's very early on. That's actually in this the next volume of this. Basically, she goes back in time. But
comic books.
Like I said, Norman comes back twice, and the first time he comes back, he tries to kill MJ and Benji. And there's this great scene where, like, you know, like MJ obviously grabs Benji and runs, and Norman kind of like corners her, and MJ's response is she just starts wailing on him.
Well, I mean, she has pulled a gun on him before.
Yeah, and
so
shot him.
That shit. So, yeah.
But referencing Marvel Knights there for the informed. Basically, you know, to which Norman takes her to the bridge where he killed Gwen. And
because he can't help himself.
Kane is trying to save them, because again, Kane is a good guy in this. And Norman throws MJ and Benji off the bridge. And basically, you know, they're falling through the air, and MJ is like crying and apologizing to Benji, and all of a sudden they stop. And lo and behold, Benji has organic webs, and he's holding both of them up. And it's like, it's so funny because Kane is sitting up there and he's like, I don't believe it. and so is Norman. Norman is like, I know. What is it with you Parkers? They don't stay dead.
It's like, what do I have to do to kill one of you? Yeah. You sons of bitches.
I love that. There's also another, I think it's the end is what happens. No, it's not the end, my bad. It's another issue. But basically, again, Norman, they time travel back. And basically it's, I think, it's one of my favorites, but I admittedly haven't read all of it as well as I have some of these other ones. But basically, May and Peter face off against Norman Osborn, you know, for arguably the final time, and they kind of time travel back through the whole timeline, like kind of going back to Normie. This will be the last one I mentioned as being a favorite. Basically, what happens is Normie captures May. And the whole issue is that Normie's like, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to end this. Yeah. Basically. You know, by killing you, I will avenge my father. I will avenge my grandfather. The war, the Osborn Parker war will be over. And basically May, who is basically tied up, I'm pretty sure she's drugged, so she doesn't have all her strength and stuff.
Well, it wouldn't be surprising. He borrowed some of his grandfather's like formulas that allowed him to negate some of Peter's abilities.
Yeah, and basically, like, you know, May spends the whole issue trying to convince Normie, like, you don't need to do this. We can stop this here. Like, we can end this, and neither of us has to die.
It's like the scene with the doctor when he's forced to try and kill the master. He's like, if we live like animals, we die like animals.
Yeah, but so basically what happens is, it's at the end, and Normie is holding this knife, and he throws it, and it totally misses May, and he basically is like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, in which May kind of finally gets enough strength back, she can kind of get out of the bind she's in, and that's basically how that ends, because later on, Normie comes back, he actually gets the Venom symbiote for a while.
Yeah.
And he actually is he actually becomes pretty good in these. Like, he and May have a kind of on again, off again friendship / they I know there's an issue where they kiss. Like
kind of should they date? Should they not?
Yeah, it's.
I'm just gonna say it
again to quote Peter in this run. They're Osborns. They all go crazy eventually.
I'm just gonna say it. The hair is a dominant gene. Dad. Peter. The kid has weird hair. MJ.
First off, that's renew your vows.
I know, but to be fair,
we need to do a renew your vows retrospective at some point.
That one's gonna be a little bit harder for me because I need to actually read renew your vows, which means I have to find the trades.
I might be able to loan them to you.
I would appreciate that.
But anyway, getting back to it, those are my favorite. Those are some of my favorites. But it's like overall, to me, it's very hard pressed to find a bad issue.
That's kind of why I said least favorite. Just like maybe one you don't really like to read through because it's like a chore or like just like you don't care about the end or like how like the plot.
That's just it. I don't really have one.
Fair enough.
I
would have argued the stupid shit with Dark Devil.
Oh yeah, Dark Devil.
You know, let's just explain why Dark Devil's bullshit, Colton.
Dark Devil is actually the son of Ben Reilly and Felicia Hardy.
Which I don't know when they met because I don't even think Black Cat met Ben. If she did, it was during that time Ben and Peter swapped places during the trial of Peter Parker.
Oh, that reminds me of another thing. I'm pretty sure it's Felicia's either somebody related to Felicia. I don't know if it's her daughter or if it's a niece. She tries to be a partner to Spider-Girl and she dresses up as the Scarlet Spider.
Oh god, there is right. There is a Scarlet Spider in there. I forgot about that.
To which May is just like, why are you dressed up like my uncle?
Oh, I forgot about that. I think it's her daughter actually. I want to say
that one's kind of cute.
It's kind of cute, but at the same time, I'm like,
I actually have that issue on a single because, as you can ask him, whenever we go out and about looking at comic
collect
stores,
trades of
if any issue of Spider-Girl I find, I usually pick up. I actually have.
He's also collected a lot of Amazing. In fact, I gave him some of my Dan Slott because I don't want it anymore.
I have a bunch. I actually have the issue where Ben Reilly first appears in too.
Oh, that
was the one I bought that day up in Erie.
I know it is. Because I want to say the chapter's actually called The Prodigal Son.
If I Live, I Die.
Oh, yeah, If I Live, I Die.
If I Live, I Die.
Because it also guest stars everyone's favorite villain, Judas Traveler.
Listen, fuck the Jackal.
Well, no shit.
We should do a top 10 worst villains of Spider-Man. There you go.
I like how you said top 10, like top 10 villains that need to stop.
Yeah,
it's time to stop. Where are your parents? I'm gonna call your parents. But like, let's get into the bullshit with Dark Devil because he is edgy, like he's edgy the hedgy,
the edgelord.
Yeah, like you think
and
Shadow?
I love Dark Devil. Don't get me wrong, I love Dark Devil, but the kid is an edgelord if I've ever seen one.
Between like I don't know who like. At least like they did stuff like John the son of or the grandson of J. Jonah Jameson was a superhero. I think he's like the Fly.
I think so. I can't.
Or like the Buzz or something like that.
One of my favorites. I remembered another favorite. I might interject real quick.
Go ahead.
There's an issue where the daughter of Electro shows up, and basically, you
had to bring up Elektra again.
No, not Electro. First off, that's not her name.
Does she train with a sandbag, Colton?
No. Cutting that off before we get a copyright strike.
Oh, why? Because you bought Elektra on Blu-ray.
I needed it.
This man bought Elektra on Blu-ray.
I needed it.
You don't need Elektra on Blu-ray.
I want all the Marvel stuff on Blu-ray.
Oh my god.
But anyway,
I actually like Elektra the character.
So the original Electro shows up and he's like, I want to talk.
Oh, Elektra. Sorry, I kept thinking.
He's like, I want to talk to Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is a good one.
Shows up and he's like, no,
not Spider-Man.
I want to talk to Spider-Man. It's like
I'm looking for a spider person with less tits.
So basically, well, it's funny. I'm getting to my favorite comment of that ending. So Peter basically is like, all right. So he gets the costume and shows up. And basically,
Oh, yeah, because the Avengers are like, this is Spider-Man?
Yeah, so Max is even like, was like, do you feel just as ridiculous in that old outfit as I do? Well, he's also like, I met your daughter. She has your eyes. It's like just the mask.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Well, no, I forgot. That was actually a really nice episode because, like, literally, just Elektra's like, I just want to sit down and talk. Because, like, Elektra's not like one of the big, like, moo-ha-ha villains.
Yeah. Well,
he's just an old man.
It even explains how he has a daughter. That basically he has a daughter that's inherited his powers, and like he couldn't be around her because he's a criminal.
Yeah.
And the end of the issue is a really, really touching moment where basically, his daughter's powers are going off, and basically, you know, Electro comes, like, Electro grabs her, you know, because he's the only one that can withstand that. To which, you know, basically she's like, you know, don't touch me. It's death to touch me, you know, just, and basically, you know, Electro's like, I'm never gonna let you go again, you know, which his daughter starts crying, you know, like, why did you leave me? Didn't you love me?
And he's like,
he's like, I didn't have a choice, but he's like, I'm not gonna let you go again.
Yeah.
It's a really touching issue because one of the main themes of that issue was that Peter and May were having another on the rocks thing where basically they weren't really communicating very well. And the end of the issue is basically like, you know, they're talking about like what will happen to Electra's daughter and stuff. And basically MJ is like, I'm going to go to bed. And Peter's like, okay, I'll be up in a little bit. Me and May have some stuff to talk about. And then cut to like MJ waking up in bed alone. And she's like, okay. Like she gets up. She walks downstairs and there's May and Peter like asleep together on the
and in their
costumes,
and it's really cute. I forgot about that.
That's such a beautiful, heartwarming issue. I actually have those issues too. I have those in
that's one of the things I really like because, like, yes, Peter and MJ are desperately trying to keep their daughter from being like a superhero, but at the same time, it's not like they're doing it out of hate. It's like we work so hard to get you and to keep you safe, and you're kind of like rebelling against us because here's the thing about MJ and Peter, if I may, like, neither of them were really rebellious kids. Like, MJ was a party goer, but I've always argued she never did drugs. That, like, if she always was afraid if she did drugs, it would let out her insecurities and stuff. Like, she'd, you know, have one too many to drink.
All the MJ haters blame her for Harry being addicted to drugs. That's an argument people have. And I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
For reference, like, Harry's father is just addicted to drugs as he is. It may not be, like, uppers and downers. It may be superpowered formulas that make him a monster, but he still has an addiction in that regard. Hell, his grandfather,
was an alcoholic.
Yeah, was an alcoholic, and so it's hereditary. And also, like, Harry's father's an asshole. Like, his whole life he's treated as like less than garbage by his own father. He needed something, and he turned to pills.
Yeah, it's not MJ's fault. Like, but that's
another debate for another day.
That's people that just want to hate Mary Jane.
But with Peter, he didn't need to rebel because Spider-Man was his rebellion. Like that. Like, I've always argued that Peter never needed to do drugs because Spider-Man was the best high he ever had.
And I know I'm not your father.
Then stop pretending to be. But Peter may hate being Spider-Man, but he loves things about it. Like, he loves the power he has. Like he loves that he can do things that a normal man can't. He loves web swinging.
But even despite that, and they even bring that up in that issue I couldn't find in these trades, where basically MJ explains to me that, yeah, your father, despite all the power he has and all the good he had, he just wanted a normal life.
Yeah,
and he kept quitting. Like, May's like, what do you mean, Dad kept quitting?
Yeah, Peter quits all the time. Like there was a point where like they tried to have that Peter said, like, I'm not going to quit being Spider-Man because it's who I am. And then what happened?
He quits.
He quits. like it's so frustrating, but like I get why, because like he never wanted to be Spider-Man forever. He wanted to kind of, as much as I hate saying this, kind of ease his conscience about letting on Uncle Ben die. But like at the end of the day, he's still duty bound, and that's one of the reasons why I like Peter so much. Like, he does something in spite of the fact that he doesn't really want to do it because it's the right thing to do. Looking at you again, Dan Slott.
Yeah, once again, one day we will do the I hate Dan Slott video. Top 10 reasons I hate Dan Slott.
Do you think there's a volume specifically that you think should be more recommended than any of the other volumes, or okay, it's simple enough.
And like I said, these are long out of print. So if you're gonna read the original run, I recommend getting Spider-Girl the complete collection by Tom DeFalco. They're pretty recent. They're still in print. I believe you can get them for around 20, 30, maybe $40.
Yeah.
But you can probably find them used on Amazon for a little bit cheaper.
Do you think that Spider-Girl should come back again? Like, that there should always be Spider-Girl? Okay.
Yes. Give May back the Spider-Girl title. please.
And I mean, honestly, I kind of agree with that regard because
I like Aranya, but give May her title back.
Especially because there's really very few female solo heroes. Especially, I mean, granted, she still has the problem I think I have with a lot of female superheroes in that they're just distaff counterparts of the male heroes. But to be fair, Mayday's her own character, and she's a legacy character, which I think works more for why she's Spider-Girl. You think she should become Spider-Woman? Or do you think there's too many Spider-Women?
She actually becomes Spider-Woman at the end.
Because she is technically Spider-Woman in Spider-Verse.
She's technically Spider-Woman now, but they've kind of bounced back and forth with that. It's kind of confusing. They mainly did it because Aranya's creator wanted her to be Spider-Girl, and the problem was May had that title, so they got basically the series ended because of that, because he's like, I want Aranya to be Spider-Girl. Which
I liked Aranya better for a name for her anyways, especially because she is of Hispanic descent, and I kind of like that she has a name that's her own.
Yeah.
Because there's so many Spider characters that are just, I'm the second Spider-Woman, I'm the third Spider-Woman, I'm Spider-Girl from this universe. Poor Gwen has to be stuck with Ghost Spider.
Which I actually like.
I don't like the name because I'm like, you didn't really think about that. Just leave her as Spider-Gwen or Spider-Woman.
But yeah, like I said, if you're going to read the original run, I would recommend getting Spider-Girl, the complete collection. And for the other series, they haven't been collected they've been collected in trays, but you can't. I'm pretty sure those are out of print. Or if they're not, but they're still pretty cheap.
Yeah, and I'm
only missing the one, and it's just because it's about $15.
And I'm sure they're working on re-releasing most of her series.
Yeah, they're gonna go through. And because I know this, you'll probably ask me this at some point. My main hope for the all-female Spider-Verse spinoff they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Because they announced a couple of who's gonna be in it, which was, Spider-Gwen was gonna be in it, Spider-Woman, Silk, and Spider-Girl.
Yeah.
The thing is, they didn't specify which Spider-Girl.
Yeah, obviously Gwen.
I'm really hoping it's
May. I really hope it's May too. And no offense, I would love to see Annie in it, because I've grown attached to Annie myself, because I liked her, to be fair, I liked Annie more when she was a little girl than when they made her they aged her up.
Yeah.
I hate that when they do that with kid characters. I'm like, if you're gonna age them up, do it naturally. Don't just be like, oh, here's the next, we're just gonna age them up. That was one of the problems I had with Super Sons, where oh, we have this cute little thing where Damian and Jonathan and Kent are actually their dads, and they're being superheroes and they're having their own fun adventures. And then Brian Michael Bendis came along and decided that Jonathan needed to be a teenager. And Damian still is 13.
Yeah, Bendis.
I'm so happy you did that, Bendis.
Let's save the hate for Bendis for another video. If I can't hate Dan Slott in videos, we gotta wait.
He ruined a comic where I actually like Damian. That comic was so good because I actually found Damian likable.
But
I know.
No, I know. Trust me. Why do you think I've banned One More Day references?
Nothing makes me more upset than when a writer just
piss me off.
Well, no, for me, it's more when a writer decides, hey, I don't like how this character is, I'm going to change him. Hey, I had a character. Hey, what if we shot Dick Grayson in the head and changed his name to Rick?
Getting back a little bit on topic, a good example of this, the one reason I was okay with them aging Annie up, it got rid of this stupid-ass AMP codename that Dan Slott was so hype about doing.
Okay,
but
fair.
It was so stupid.
Fair.
I'm glad they did that just to make him mad.
To be fair, I did love that little makeshift costume she made for herself with the cape and the she looked. It was really adorable, and I loved seeing the Spider family and her being I'm Spider Tot.
I love the one thing of Renew Your Vows where it's
we kicks her ucky.
What part of your grounded didn't you understand? Well, I'm technically underground. Does that count?
Peter's young lady.
I make the bad jokes right.
I make the bad jokes.
But yeah, I definitely would love another Spider-Girl series. It seems like they've been a little more open to using her lately, which I really hope is a little bit of a change in the guard, because there was an interesting article I read on Tumblr called the anti Spider-Girl agenda at Marvel, and it kind of explained why people are kind of a little hesitant to use May, which most of it comes back to the fact that people blame Tom DeFalco for the Marvel bankruptcy, even though it's not his fault.
Yeah, that was more Ron Perelman and just the stupid-ass decisions Marvel made at the time.
Yeah, that was that fault. But they blame Tom DeFalco.
It's also why
is directly connected to May. So as a result, they don't use May as a way of getting back at Tom DeFalco.
But thankfully, one of the things I know, because you've told me about it, was how the editors at Marvel has said to news areas, like, you know, like we've been mandated, we need to start writing comics that please the fans. Like, that was one of the reasons why I've been loving Nick Spencer's run on Spidey, because he actually is like, no, I'm not doing things the way Dan did. I'm gonna fix it. And he does it in a way that is also a big middle finger to Dan Slott.
Yeah, love it.
Like, that's
and just to further piss Dan Slott off, Mary Jane, because this is news, I forgot to tell you. Mary Jane has had a limited series going on called Amazing Mary Jane. It has been picked up as an ongoing series now because it has sold so well.
Well, because people like the character. Like,
just as a further middle finger to Dan Slott, who didn't like MJ.
Sadly, I don't know how long Amazing Mary Jane can last. Not like,
even still, I'm just like my girl got an ongoing series.
I mean, not to burst anyone's bubble or anything. Just a lot of times, like, side characters getting their own books don't last very long. Although I think a lot of it's in response to the fact that DC has been running a Lois Lane comic of recent, which has been pretty beloved.
Well, and plus, Marvel has an Invisible Woman ongoing series going right now. Sue has a series going now. So it's definitely a women's power move going on with comics, which I'm happy about.
I think that, and thankfully, because the MCU is kind of doing some more female-oriented products as of late, I think they're kind of like, let's kind of ride that wave.
Yeah.
Which I'm not, and I'm not saying that like to be jaded. I'm just saying it's a good business decision. Like, I would be like, when we're releasing all this female oriented superhero stuff, let's do that with our books so we could get some new blood in here because we're dying.
I just like that it pisses off. I just like that it pisses off neckbeards.
We're dying.
Who don't like female characters.
We're on the 8. We're going out.
We're in the end game now.
And in how many universes?
But
scenes from Adam's real life.
But do you have any other questions? Seeing as I'm the biggest Spider-Girl stan in
alrighty,
probably the Tri-County area.
What's time we got here? Okay, we can probably talk a little bit longer. So best ship with Mayday, Black Tarantula or Black Tarantula?
Can I choose none of them?
No, I actually kind of wanted to talk about Black Tarantula just because it's such a stupid character. So, in the regular continuity, Black Tarantula is this dude who I don't even think he's related to the regular Tarantula in any way, shape, or form. He's just another Tarantula.
I can't remember if he is or not.
But basically, he's this drug. He's basically their attempt at making like a Bane for Spider-Man, because they do that a lot with Spidey. Like, well, it worked for Batman, let's do it for Spider-Man. Which I'm like, but they're two entirely different characters. Just because they both have a smiling villain doesn't mean you need to. But like, so basically, he's this super powered drug cartel guy that Spider-Man was never able to beat, just because apparently he was just so much stronger. I'm like, yeah, but Spider-Man fights guys that are so much stronger than him all the time. He fought Firelord and won!
Yeah, but he had the symbiote.
No, he actually was in the Black Cloth.
Oh, was that the cloth one?
Yeah, no, he fought him for 24 hours. He whooped his ass a whole day and won. He was a former Herald of Galactus. That's why I call bullshit when some fat jackass who runs the mafia is able to bitch slap him around a room.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Kingpin.
When I was a boy.
Yeah, that's why I love Back in Black, where finally Spider-Man just beats his ass in prison. Because, like, and he just, like, because I cannot stand that. It's like, just because you're really, like, you can beat a blind dude doesn't mean you can beat Spider-Man. Hell, Daredevil beats his ass on a regular basis.
But yeah,
but I kind of wanted you to bring up, like, talk about that's
probably in my honest opinion, one of the weaker points of Spider-Girl, and I don't even know if it's really a weak point because
and technically this guy does exist in continuity because he's the son of the Black Tarantula.
I don't even know if it's really fair to call it a weak point because it's not really ever main the series. That May doesn't really have like a ship basically.
Yeah. The closest
she has a thing with Black Tarantula that is kind of like weird.
Because isn't it also I'm just
trying to
a pheromone thing?
I don't even know if it's that.
I can't
remember. I don't know if it's like a silk situation.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
There's a thing with Flash, Gene Thompson, that's the kid's name.
Oh, okay.
And he's a jackass to her. I mean, there's a part where, like, she stops dating him.
Oh, really? A member of Flash's family that's an asshole.
But Agent Venom.
Like, just because I liked Agent Venom doesn't mean I can't call him on his bullshit.
Yeah, but basically, they stop dating, and he's real quick to get another girlfriend, like, right after. And there's an issue where, like, he takes a fucking swing at her in a bar, to which May instantly sidesteps it.
Oh, that's what we gonna do.
Yeah, but it's like he's kind of a dickhead to her. And then the only other one that really there's a relationship with is Normie, and that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that.
I kind of ship it, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah, because I'm like, you tried to kill me on a routine basis.
Well, it's interesting that they do that because then they also kind of hint that Annie and Normie have a thing, and it's like...
Well, to be fair, in that...
They keep trying to set the Spider Kid up with Normie.
Because wouldn't that be hilarious if the daughter of Spider-Man and the grandson of the Green Goblin hooked up? We're clever. We write comic books.
Yeah, it's just stupid. But again, I don't even know if it's really fair to call that a weakness, because again, it's not a main focus.
No.
The main focus is May's journey in becoming Spider-Girl.
But like they make out a lot in those, and I'm like, honey, stop. He's a drug cartel. And
then there's me, because I actually write May on
doesn't he
Tumblr.
clone her? Isn't that where April comes in? Or like, okay,
April's from Norman.
Okay, I couldn't. I thought
I'll get to April in a second. I'll explain it. But because it's kind of convoluted. Because I actually write May on Tumblr for role playing purposes, and I actually
clones complicated in a Spider-Man story. That's impossible.
Anyway, like I said, I actually write May on Tumblr, and I have a thing with a role playing partner I have where we ship May and Andy from Mania, and I'm like, it actually kind of works. But like I said, that I don't even know if it's fair to call that a weakness in these, because May having a relationship is not really a big part. Like, there's instances where it's mentioned and stuff, and it's like they don't make it out that there's like a huge love triangle.
Yeah,
or May is depressed over this, so she can't be like.
They don't do the traditional Spider-Man cliches, which I am thankful for, because those get old real quick.
It's not even really a weakness, because it doesn't affect the quality of the stories.
So getting into the fact that there's complicated clone conspiracies in Spider-Man.
At one point,
did you see what I did there?
Yes, I see. I'm so tired of your bullshit.
Sorry, I know.
It's supposed to be my episode.
I think I'm getting.
You're dealing these bullshit on me.
I think I'm getting a little hyper from the caffeine.
But anyway, April. Basically, one day, it really mirrors a lot of Clone Saga stuff. They do a lot of imagery from Clone Saga that they bring back, including like the clone of May and May meeting on the roof, kind of like Ben and Spider-Man meeting on the roof. It's literally the same thing down to the pose. But anyway, April shows up, and it's revealed that April, who that's the name that MJ gives her.
Yeah,
basically,
I know.
Basically, what happens is there's a lot of drama and confusion because this clone shows up.
Would you say it's a land of confusion?
Stop with the shitty Genesis quotes. That band sucks. I hate Genesis.
It wasn't really a quote from the song. I was just making a shitty pun.
But anyway, what happens is there's a clone that shows up, and it's revealed that this clone is like, I was kidnapped at birth, which it's revealed that May was still kidnapped. Here's what happened. May was kidnapped.
Yeah.
Kane was involved. Kane had a change of heart and told Peter, listen, your daughter's not dead. This is where she's at. Norman Osborn is holding her. So Peter goes to rescue her, and that's when the final battle happens. He goes to rescue his kid. But it's revealed that this clone happened, and the backstory is that Norman had this clone made, and he infused it with part of the Venom symbiote.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because she's technically weird.
Yeah, and so, but it's revealed, it's like, which one is the clone?
So they did what the Clone Saga did.
Yeah.
Which one's the real May and which one's the not?
Yeah, but it's this big thing where, like, even May, like, even the real May, because obviously May is the real one.
You just couldn't stop yourself.
April isn't the real one.
You just couldn't stop yourself, could you, DeFalco? You're like, well, I'm doing the Clone Saga.
It actually works better than
No,
Clone
I
Saga,
know it does, but like...
But so what happens is, you know, MJ takes April. They take MJ, like, they all take April in, and they call her April because obviously she looks identical to May.
Yeah, so
and they're not going to call her May, so they call her April. Months.
It would have been hilarious if Peter's like, I'll get the blonde hair dye out. We're not dyeing my hair blonde.
Yeah.
If anything, we should dye May's hair blonde.
Well, it's funny because there's a scene where basically, like, because April has the symbiote, she can shapeshift. Like, she has a blue costume that looks like May's. She also can make herself look like the normal one. She has the same exact identical face as May.
Oh, excuse me.
So May makes a joke about how, yeah, if you can shapeshift, you can change your face a little bit. So that way we're not identical. And April just flips out. It's like, I like my face the way it is. And like the symbiote kicks up and does the face and stuff.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly stable and sane.
Well, that's a big thing, is that April is not always
No, I know.
very stable. And it actually is during the end. What happens is there is, I believe this leads into the time thing. Basically, May dies, the real May dies to save April.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, a building blows up and she's in it. After she throws April out the...
Kind of like her uncle.
Yeah, she throws April out the window and, like, webs her to the building. And it saves April, but May dies. And there's, like, this whole plot where basically April tries to fix it. And what happens is, at the end, it's the reverse. Basically, April throws May out the window and webs her to the building, and April dies. And that's in Spider-Girl, the end.
To quote Sonic, the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA, there can only be one Sonic.
But yeah, basically that. And April is April's an interesting thing. Like you said, it really is just rehashing Clone Saga, but I actually think it does a lot of stuff better.
I know. I just couldn't help making the jokes because because Tom DeFalco was such a big part of that. I'm like, you just couldn't help yourself, Tom. I have to fix it. I have to fix it.
Yeah, he does later again because the real Clone Saga.
This isn't the first time he did that. He's the one who to going into the Hobgoblin thing a little bit. He was told by Roger Stern who he wanted the Hobgoblin to be, and Tom was like, no, I don't like that. It's this guy. You can't do that. You didn't create the character.
Yeah, but if they fire somebody, that opens up the whole anything you draw and create is owned by the company, not you.
But like him and Roger were good friends. You don't just do that to good friends.
It's
bullshit. Although to be fair,
is bullshit. I'm not defending.
To be fair, Tom has said one thing, Roger said another.
It's kind of like Kirby and Stan Lee,
or Stan and Steve Ditko. Like he said this, they said that. It's one of the reasons why I don't get mad at some of the things Stan may or may not have done, because both parties have said equal things that they don't remember.
Have you ever heard about? This was in that Hulk documentary I watched, where basically there was a radio show where Steve Ditko. I think it was Steve Ditko. It might have been Kirby. I can't remember which, and I apologize.
Yeah, it probably was Kirby, because Ditko was an agoraphobic.
Yeah, but basically, they were on a radio show, and it was his birthday. And Stan Lee called in, and they kind of actually started arguing on the phone. Like, they were talking about credits and stuff. And
oh, that was probably Jack then.
Yeah, but he's basically was talking about how, like I had dialogue and stuff that was never credited to me and stuff. And Stan was like, I don't think you actually ever read any of the comics you did. I don't think you know what was in them. And, like, it was just back and forth, and it was...
You know, because with the old men of Marvel and DC, you know, like I said, it's very much, they said this, one said another thing. At the end of the day, like, I don't really fault... Because a lot of people want to fault Stan completely on it. I'm like...
It's just how stuff works.
Yeah, like he wasn't.
It's not as bad as DC and the creators of Superman.
Oh, or Bob Kane and Bill Finger.
Yeah, if you want screw jobs, you go look.
Oh yeah, no. Like at least Stan, like in his older age, at least was willing to cite his sources.
Yeah,
But anyway, I just wanted to go into that because I love Tom, but like the thing with the Hobgoblin really frustrates me.
Yeah,
we'll get more into that when we actually do it.
Yeah. So we've gone over an hour and probably 20 minutes now, so I think we should probably wrap this up. But
I think you did pretty well, because I usually end up doing a lot of leading on this, but I think you did pretty well.
Yeah, like I said, these are my favorite. May is my favorite spider-related thing ever. Always has been. I kind of thank Spider-Man 2 for being as big as it was, because I'm pretty sure that's what got these released to schools.
I don't doubt it. It is kind of funny. I love how like both of your favorite characters from both Batman and Spider-Man are characters that take place in the future and are like the continuations of said hero. it's kind of funny in that regard. Not in a bad funny.
There's actually a comic I'm pretty sure where May and Terry meet.
Oh, do they make out?
No, they don't make out. Get out of here.
I can't help it. I'm a ship.
Ship whore.
But like I said, I'm glad the character exists. Especially because it's always nice to see like Peter actually get something of a happy ending. Because I get tired of watching Peter and other superhero characters just get constantly drove through the grunge and the muck and never allowed to be happy.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Tom King.
And at least in this, for the most part, because I'm gonna ignore the bullshit that isn't going on in Spider-Geddon.
Oh, you mean where they kill the whole universe?
You stop. It didn't happen like that. That's not canon. I don't give any shits.
Well, I think didn't they bring Peter back to life?
Yeah, for the most part, everything is pretty. They even bring it up. I think it's best said in the end of the first issue, which
enough said.
No, let me bring it up real quick. Where is it?
I would have said enough said.
Here it is. Basically, Normie is getting arrested, and he's talking about like, he's actually singing. My little brown-eyed spider girl. She does one heck of a spider twirl.
They have he looks kind of like his dad when he was getting arrested the first time when he was
it's directly done like that.
Oh, so it's doing that thing where he's like, I know who Spider Girl is, but I'm not gonna say just yet.
Yeah, and basically this detective is like, I wonder what happened to Spider-Man anyway. Was he killed like Daredevil, or did he manage to live happily ever after?
And then and to be fair, I think Peter deserves a happy ever after. Unlike although to be fair, I don't think Daredevil deserves that either, because poor Daredevil, he bangs so many women with their own baggage that he tries to fix, and then it never ends up well. He should have just stuck with Natasha, in my opinion. But yeah, like you said, I'm glad that this exists, especially because like in some ways it's better than like sometimes Spider-Man himself. But that's kind of true of Spider-Man since like the 90s. But anyway, guys, I think we should wrap it up here.
Yep. So, like I said, those my final thoughts are just, again, my favorite Spider-related character. I really hope that she's in Spider-Verse, either Spider-Verse 2, because they definitely set it up that MJ and Peter B were going to have a kid, or at least he was fine with that possibility now. So I hope that like sets up to either being May or even Annie. Hopefully it's not the J.J. Abrams one. Please no.
I hope Annie's okay. Is she okay?
A joke is stale. A joke is stale, Dad.
I don't like wheat cakes. They're ucky.
What if somebody did an art of Peter starting to do that joke and Annie's just like, okay, boomer. I would die laughing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of sad because Peter technically is a boomer in a certain point of view. But anyway, guys.
So anyway, I think that's gonna do it for this issue. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not as well versed as the characters you are, but I like her, and I'm kind of I both love her, but it's also kind of sad and frustrating to see that Marvel tries to pretend she exists. But I'm kind of glad that fans kind of refuse to let that happen, and that as long as there's a Spider-Man, there is a Spider-Girl, and I'm just glad that it exists. Enough said. Enough said.
So, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. We'll all catch you later. I'm Average Joe Squad.
And I'm Zongetsu 134.
And as always, we ask you
to remember the hyphen.
Take care.
See, it's not that easy.